Imagine waking up before the sun rises. The room is completely silent. Your phone is the only thing glowing in the darkness. Without even opening your eyes fully, your hand reaches for it. One notification, then another, a message from a friend. A reel someone tagged you in, breaking news. A trending video, you tell yourself you'll scroll for just 5 minutes. But when you finally look at the clock, 43 minutes have disappeared. You don't even remember what you watched. You only know one thing. Your day hasn't started yet, but somehow, you're already tired. This is not just the story of one person, it's the story of an entire generation. A generation that has more technology than anyone before it, yet struggles to find peace. A generation that can talk to anyone in the world, yet often feels completely alone. A generation that has unlimited information, yet constantly questions its own worth. This is the story of Rohan, 22 years old, smart, kind, full of dreams. When he was a child, people used to say, "One day, this boy will achieve something extraordinary." He believed them. He loved drawing, he loved reading books. He could spend hours playing cricket with friends until the streetlights came on. Life felt slow, simple, real. Then everything changed. On his 16th birthday, his father gave him his first smartphone. It was the happiest day of his life. He thanked his father at least 10 times. He promised he would only use it for studying, only for learning. Only for staying connected. His father smiled. He trusted him at first. Everything was exactly as promised. Rohan watched educational videos. He searched for career advice. He learned new skills. The phone became a powerful tool, but slowly. Something invisible entered his life. It didn't arrive with loud music. It didn't knock on the door. It quietly slipped into his daily routine. 5 minutes became 15. 15 became 30. 30 became hours. Every spare moment was filled with scrolling. While eating, scrolling while waiting for a bus, scrolling before sleeping. Scrolling, the phone was no longer in his pocket. It had slowly taken a place inside his mind. One evening, his mother called him for dinner. "Rohan, dinner is ready." "I'm coming." 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 20. His mother walked into his room. He hadn't moved. His food was getting cold. But his thumb never stopped moving, video after video, reel after reel. His mother quietly placed the plate beside him. She looked at her son. He was sitting only a few feet away, yet somehow, he felt farther away than ever before. Days turned into months. The things Rohan once loved slowly disappeared. His sketchbooks gathered dust. His novels remained unopened. The cricket bat in the corner of his room slowly became covered in dust. His real world was becoming smaller. His digital world was becoming endless. Every morning started the same way, before saying good morning to his parents. He said good morning to his phone before looking out the window. He looked at someone else's life on a screen before asking himself how he felt. He checked how many people had liked his latest post without realizing it. He had stopped living his own life. He had started watching everyone. One afternoon, while sitting in a crowded cafe, Rohan looked around. Every table was full. Friends sat together. Families sat together. Couples sat together. But almost nobody was talking. Heads were down. Eyes were fixed on glowing screens. A little girl tried showing her father a drawing she had made. He smiled without looking up. "Nice." Then he continued scrolling. The little girl quietly folded her drawing and looked out of the window. Rohan watched the moment in silence for the first time. He wondered, when did we stop looking at each other? That question stayed in Rohan's mind long after he left the cafe. He couldn't stop thinking about the little girl. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking for expensive gifts. She only wanted her father to look at her for a few seconds. But even those few seconds had been stolen by a screen. That night, Rohan lay in bed with his phone in his hand. He opened one app, then another, then another. An hour passed, then two. He wasn't enjoying it anymore. He was simply doing it because he didn't know what else to do. Finally, his battery reached 1%. The screen went black for the first time in months. The room became completely silent. Rohan looked at the ceiling. His mind felt strangely empty. He suddenly realized something that frightened him. He couldn't remember the last full day he had spent without his phone. Not one day, not even one. The next morning, he rushed to charge it before brushing his teeth. As the phone turned on, he felt relieved. That was the moment he understood. He wasn't using the phone anymore. The phone was using him. Days later, while traveling home on a crowded bus, an old man sat beside him. Unlike everyone else, the old man wasn't staring at a screen. He was simply looking out of the window, watching trees, watching children playing in the streets, watching birds flying across the evening sky. A small smile rested on his face. Rohan couldn't understand it. The old man noticed his curiosity and asked gently, "Young man, when was the last time you looked outside instead of down?" Rohan didn't answer, because he genuinely didn't know. The old man smiled again. "I was your age, we waited for sunsets." He pointed toward the sky. "Now people wait for notifications." Those words hit Rohan harder than he expected. The bus continued moving. Outside, the sky had turned orange. It was one of the most beautiful sunsets he had ever seen. Yet almost everyone on the bus had missed it. Their faces were glowing. Not from the sunlight, but from their screens. That evening, Rohan reached home and opened the drawer where he kept his old sketchbook. Dust covered the cover. He slowly wiped it clean. Inside were drawings he had made years ago, dreams he had forgotten, a version of himself that seemed like a stranger. He turned each page carefully. Every drawing reminded him of a time when happiness came from creating, not consuming, when memories were made with people. Not with algorithms. He picked up a pencil. His hand felt awkward, the lines weren't perfect. But for the first time in a long time, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace, not excitement. Not entertainment, peace. And in that quiet moment, Rohan began to wonder if the life he had been searching for online had been waiting for him in the real world all along. The next morning felt different. For the first time in years, Rohan didn't reach for his phone the moment he woke up. He opened the window instead. Cool morning air filled his room, birds were singing. The streets were slowly coming to life. It amazed him. None of these things were new. They had always been there. He had simply been too distracted to notice them. His phone vibrated on the table. Without thinking, he picked it up. A message, a notification, a new video recommendation. His thumb automatically moved toward the screen. Then he stopped. He smiled to himself and placed the phone back down. It wasn't easy. Every few minutes, his mind whispered, "Just check it once." But he knew those 5 minutes always became 50, so he walked outside instead. The neighborhood park looked exactly as it always had. Children were running across the grass. An old couple walked hand in hand. A group of teenagers laughed while playing football. Nobody cared how many followers they had. Nobody cared about filters for a few moments. Life felt wonderfully simple. As he sat on a bench, an elderly gardener began watering the flowers nearby. The man worked slowly, carefully, giving each plant exactly what it needed. Rohan watched him for a while before asking, "Don't you ever get bored doing the same thing every day?" The gardener chuckled. "No, because flowers grow slowly. If I keep digging them up every hour to check their progress, they'll never bloom." He looked at Rohan and continued, "People are exactly the same. You keep checking your life against everyone else's every few minutes. How will your own life ever have the chance to grow?" Rohan sat in silence. Those words stayed with him. He remembered how many times he had compared himself to strangers on the internet. Someone buying a luxury car, someone traveling to another country, someone announcing a promotion, someone getting married, someone becoming famous. Every time he compared, he felt smaller. He never compared his struggles with theirs, only his reality with their highlights. And that comparison quietly stole his confidence. That evening, Rohan made a decision, not to delete every app, not to throw away his phone, but to take back control. He turned off unnecessary notifications. He stopped following people who made him feel less than. He placed his phone on the other side of the room before going to bed. The first night was difficult. He reached for it without thinking. It wasn't there. The silence felt uncomfortable. But night after night, the silence slowly became peaceful. Weeks passed. His sketchbook slowly filled with new drawings. He finished reading his first book in months. He met an old friend for tea. They talked for 3 hours. Neither of them touched their phones. When they finally said goodbye, Rohan realized something. That conversation brought him more happiness than hundreds of hours of endless scrolling ever had. He finally understood the truth. Technology was never the enemy. The real enemy was forgetting to live while staring at a screen. A phone is an incredible tool, but the moment it begins deciding how you feel, how you spend your time, and how much you're worth, it stops being your tool, and you become its. Years later, Rohan looked back on the version of himself who couldn't go 10 minutes without checking his phone. He didn't hate that person. He felt compassion for him. Because he knew millions of others we're still trapped in the same invisible prison. A prison with no bars, no locks, no guards, only endless scrolling, and the hardest prisons to escape are the ones that don't look like prisons at all. So before you pick up your phone again, ask yourself one simple question. Are you using your phone? Or is your phone using you? Because one day, you'll realize your greatest loss wasn't your battery percentage. It was the moments, memories, conversations, and dreams that quietly disappeared while your eyes were fixed on a screen. The most valuable things in life will never appear in a notification. Sometimes all they need is for you to look up.